so.
Okay, how many of you are computer scientists? Raise your hand. Hi. How many of you are not computer scientists? Hi. Well, it's good to be back.
Yes, good to have you there.
I guess like in any other academic environment, you have those few minutes before everybody actually walks in. I don't have a problem with people walking in late. I don't have a problem with people eating and drinking during the talk. You should be eating by now, so don't worry about me.
Vigna. He analyzes threats on the internet, breaks down viruses, and looks at the code, and will be teaching us a lot today. He works with machine learning and is part of several hacking groups. So I suspect that we all have much to learn from this man, and we're fortunate to have him. So.
Thank you. So my plan for today is to sort of scare you a little bit, or probably that's not necessary. If you are in the computer science club, you're probably well aware of most of the stuff I'm going to talk about today. As the president of the computer science club just said, I'm a professor at UCSB. Of course, I'm a researcher, so I'm always interested in science and what's novel, in what's different, what can be published too. But different from the idea that sometimes people have of academics, I'm also a system developer. And so as part of our group, one thing that we always try to do is to field our research, to create prototypes, to run it in the real world to see if it works or not. So I'm going to start with a very high-level introduction and a discussion of what are the threats that we see today, because we've seen a definite shift in the way things go. And then I'm going to give you some high-level view of the different things that we do in our research group at UCSB. And especially, I will also talk about our capture flag competition with the hope that maybe this year our city college decides to put together a team and come and hack against everybody else. No pressure. So I'll start telling you a little bit about the revolution that we really observed. You're all young, so actually I just found out that yesterday was the 44th anniversary of the first attempt to have a UCLA computer connect to an SRI computer in Stanford through the ARPANET. So exactly yesterday there was the prompt was LO, and then everything went down, and that was the first catastrophic fail of the internet. So the internet is exactly as old as I am, because I'm 44 years old, so I am 6 months older than the internet as you know it. And you can tell that from, just two computers talking to each other, things have changed quite a bit, right? Somebody was making fun of the fact that 44 years ago, we were trying to create the ARPANET to exchange scientific data and resist to a nuclear war, and today we use it to distribute viral video like, that's what the Fox said or something like that. They show some people in costumes that supposed to be entertaining. Very early in 2000, we start seeing cyber vandalism as the problem. So actually there is a very interesting RFC. RFCs are requests for comments. These are the documents that the IETF on the internet uses to sort of determine how the internet works in a way. That's how the TCP/IP protocol are specified. If you don't understand what it is, it doesn't matter. But since 1976, the RFC is called "The Socks Were Hung by the Chimney with Care." I think it's from. You guys are more used to this than I am. It's a Christmas tale. Christmas Carol. Christmas Carol. Thank you. And in 1976, they were talking about problems because they made this ARPANET infrastructure available to everybody, and from day zero, people start hacking. Okay, People were, exchanging passwords with each other. They had password cracking. A bunch of high schoolers took down the internet for half a day. And when at that time taking down the internet means that nobody could use the internet for half a day. Of course, it's unthinkable today. But the real bad stuff started, I would say, in 2000, where people started to do cyber vandalism in a distributed fashion. So it was really the beginning of the 2000s. I remember I was at UCSB, but at that time I was in Italy visiting my family. I am originally from there. And I was in the bathroom, and my dad, knocked at the door. I said, "Johnny, you gotta see this." I said, "What?" No, come on, you gotta see this. So I get out, and I have the Italian newspaper called La Repubblica. On the first page, there is the system administrator of UCSB, pointing at some machines, because apparently UCSB computers were hijacked and used for this large denial of service attack against CNN. That was the first case of large-scale cyber vandalism. Goal: disrupt, embarrass, offend, denigrate, all at the bottom. The problem with that thing is that there was not much money. Yeah, somebody you can blackmail, and they still do it. You see now a service attack where people come and say, "Hey, if you don't give me $50,000, I'm going to DDoS your website for the next month." And some people pay. They don't say it, but they pay. We received the same thing at UCSB because we run cybersecurity tool, and we're like, "Yeah, go ahead." And then we saw 5 packets coming in, and UCSB has a very big pipe. So DDoSing UCSB is not very easy. We have a 10 gig link in our own lab, so filling that requires a lot of resources. So the main problem that we saw in the mid-2000s was that people realized that this distributed cyber vandalism could actually be used to make money. And this was the revolution of cybercrime and the underground economy. People realized that if they found an automated way to compromise 100,000, 500,000, 8 million machines, and they can have, instead of just delete their files, they put a little piece of software that connects back to a host and says, "What should I do now?" And you can send back, "Oh, give me all the keystroke of that person. Here it is. Give me all the Facebook passwords. Here they are." That's a really, really good thing. And for them, of course, not for us. And so they started creating this large infrastructure to compromise opportunistically large amount of machines. What do you mean by opportunistically? What do I mean? It means that they don't care who they infect. They just want to infect as many people as possible. It's a problem scale. I want to have a botnet that has 180,000 computers under my control. And yes, I can collect their information, but I can also use that as a weapon to send spam, to do a denial of service attack, and this is what is called a botnet. The concept of botnet, and they're still super active. There are probably around 50 to 70 botnets, large-scale botnets running in this model on the internet, and they're responsible for 80% of the spam being sent out. So and they make millions and millions of dollars with different types of scams, and I'll tell you a little bit about it. But the very recent evolution in this is now targeted attacks. So what we have seen in the last 3 years, increasing in an enormously relevant way, is the idea that they don't want to cast a wide net and get as many people as possible. They want him, okay? And so when he's distracted writing on his notebook, people will study him, understanding who he trusts, and then will forge a little one email that will be sent only to him, saying, "Hey, can I have a copy of the notes that you took at that class? Because I would like to see it too. I put, this, PDF in attachment with my notes." He's like, "Oh yeah, he's obviously a person that was at, Giovanni's lecture, and so I trust, and so he will put it on that PDF. And the PDF has a hidden bomb inside, usually JavaScript code, that will actually compromise his computer in a way that is completely transparent. He will look at the PDF and say, 'Oh, nice. And from that moment on, it's owned. Okay? This is a huge problem. It's a huge problem because the evidence of opportunistic attacks, the one that attack everybody, it's all over the internet. You just show up on the internet and you say, I am a stupid person with a completely unupdated Windows machine, can you please infect me? In 5 minutes you will. Okay? So you find out who these people are. But when it is a targeted attack that is hitting you and only you, unless you have somebody observing you and only you and who knows who you are, it becomes very difficult to catch these types of attacks. And I'll tell you a little bit about how this happens and who they are and what they do. There is another revolution though, and it's more technical, and it's in the way in which these attacks are carried out. So if you look at the past was a past where you had a network, you had people outside the network, and these guys had tried to enter your network. They're attacking from the outside to the inside. Okay? And so you generate a perimeter, okay, you put a firewall, and you make sure that everything that tries to get in, it's either blocked or heavily scrutinized. And this paradigm is very strong, it works well, and in fact it's been pretty much commoditized. When you buy, a Linksys router at Best Buy for, $30, it has a firewall inside. And it's a pretty good firewall too for what it does. It blocks packets, it does netting, and all this cool stuff. And it is pretty effective. The problem is that the bad guys, of course, understood exactly how this works and started a new way of infecting people from the inside to the outside. So the basic idea is that they convince you to click on a link and voluntarily come to them. They convince you that this result of Google search is actually relevant to you and you should click on this link. They convince you that visiting a forum is a completely harmless thing. And so most of the attacks that we see today follow this paradigm. So the big deal is, how do I get you, with your browser, to come to me? And that's the question that every cyber criminal is trying to answer. So just to give you an idea of how stuff was spun at the time, these are some screenshots from very old viruses, probably before you were born, in the 80s. And here I put this TED Talk. There is a TED Talk from Nico Hipponen. You all know what TED Talks are, right? Okay. There is this TED Talk, Fighting Viruses, Defending the Net, in which he tells his experience, and of course, he tells it like you tell it in a TED Talk, with amazing, graphics, great dramatic effects. So it's very, I strongly suggest that you watch it. It's really fun to watch. And it shows, these screenshots of these old viruses that were vandalism. They would just have, the ambulance come and crack into your screen. They would put some crap on your screen, or they have a little worm come down and eat the letters in your terminal, stuff like that. Unfortunately, this is the good part, which, good in terms of it was mostly harmless. Maybe you would use some data, you would like, damn, I got an infection, but it was very easy to remove. And, we have now the bad and the ugly. And I don't really know how ugly we got yet, but we got really ugly. So mostly we got this proliferation of malware for financial gain. Zeus is a classic example. It's something that's been completely commoditized. You can buy Zeus. You can go and say, hey, $15,000, you get Zeus. You can set up your own little botnet. You can steal your bank accounts and make a ton of money. Okay? And when I say a ton of money, I mean, millions a month. And everybody can do it. You don't even have to be in a computer science class. Because you just go, you buy Zeus and all the exploit, you set a few parameters, you buy a few hosts to run your infrastructure, and you're in business. Once upon a time, you need to be a hacker. You need to be available to exploit services and have 0 days against browsers. Nowadays, just buy it. So it's like exploit as a service. You don't even have to install software. You just point your client to a server that the bad guys run to provide as a service the compromise of web browsers. It's ridiculously commoditized. And also we're seeing now these targeted attacks. And these targeted attacks are really, really interesting because you understand that these people have a precise target. For example, Aurora was one of the first ones. That was the Chinese government going after the email of human rights activists. And they just sent a message to one of the Google employees that broke into their machine, and from that they were able to hop up to the Gmail infrastructure. Even more disturbing, RSA, somebody sent something, I think it was, the attachment was management, payroll, or the paycheck of each top manager. It was an Excel spreadsheet attachment. You know, how could you resist not double-clicking and finding out what everybody's making in the company? Of course, inside the Excel, there was a little flash gadget that actually exploited a zero-day vulnerability and was able to attack that machine. From that, they got to compromise the security infrastructure. And now we see also this cyber warfare, which to a certain degree, I mean, it's worse, but it's also more usually focused and limited. With cyber warfare, I mean, the classic example is Stuxnet. So the American government with the Israeli government put together a virus that was super sophisticated and would stay dormant until it would get on a machine connected to a specific type of Siemens controller that would control a specific type of uranium centrifuge. And whenever that would happen, like, oh, here I am, let's spin this thing as fast as we can until it breaks. And it was the first time that, you know, government threw into the network sort of like a virus to say, don't hurt anybody. But when you get to that plant with that configuration, break all their centrifuges. And of course, Iran was hit by this, and they lost some say a year, some I say a year and a half of time in their nuclear project. But it's difficult to quantify those things. Definitely was very effective, because they really broke stuff. It was the first time that a piece of malware broke stuff in the real world. Imagine, now you say, oh God, I got infected, I have to reinstall my machine. Suppose that the next round of viruses, when you get infected, you have to buy a new laptop. You would be a lot more pissed if you got a virus in there. So, Flame is something similar to that. So now it's safe. So this is my scary thing. You can see, this. I use this. I love this because this gives you really an example of what I mean by targeted attack. China's government sponsored hacking, gets into the New York Times because there is a journalist writing about top people in the Communist Party in China. They get in. These guys have Symantec, completely undetected, completely targeted, custom malware just for this particular attack. No signatures, nothing that would work. They own the system for months, and they monitor everything that this guy is writing about, and all his sources, the confidential information, and they almost detect this guy, this attack by mistake. Okay, they find some discrepancies, and that's weird. Why are you talking to that pager? And suddenly they find out they're being owned and completely compromised for months. And there are tons of other examples. Oops, sorry. Twitter got hit, Bit9, a security company, got hit, Facebook, Apple, and apparently, pretty much every single office in Washington is being targeted or already compromised. And you can see typical North Korea attacking South Korea. Just they brought down their ATM machines, a few months ago. They do this every time. So I'm going to tell you a little bit more about this financial malware because there's something that, for example, connects to you very personally. So how many of you got their credit card stolen? I mean, the credit card number stolen, not the physical stolen, but hijacked. Okay? You guys are a lucky population. How many of you saw advertisement for a job? Hey, stay at home and make $4,000 a month. Okay. How many of you know what that actually is? Let's hear that.
Phishing time? Phishing?
Sorry, I'm partially deaf, so you have to really...
Phishing?
No. Other? scared. You can say it, yes.
An image that links to a PHP file, which installs something?
No, it's purely, you will see it on the job advertisement for City College sometimes. Stay at home, make $3,000. My wife works at City College. She actually works in the career center. She's actually the person responsible for actually looking at this job advertisement. And you know, some of these sometimes get to the City College website, and it's a problem. What do you think they are? Yes? Close but no cigar. They're money mules. Okay? What is a money mule? So, you know what a drug mule is, right? You take a lot of drugs in Mexico, you shove it up in different cavities, you pass the border, and then you take it out of the cavities in different ways, and you sell the drugs. That's a drug mule. We all good with that. The problem with money mules is that I am in Ukraine. I'm a cyber criminal, and I just broke into his bank account. Okay? Now I have his credentials, and I can transfer money. Well, do you think that I can just go into his bank account and say transfer all balance to Ukraine? No, you cannot do that. You would set up so many alarms that it would be immediately blocked. So what I can do, I can transfer his money to another American citizen, right? Maybe in the same bank. Very easy. So I put something and say, hey, I want somebody who can make $4,000 by doing nothing and staying at home. Who wants that? I do. I reply, yes, I would like that opportunity. Say, oh, great. You know, I'm going to send you a transfer from our corporate bank account to your account. You will have to take those $4,000. You keep $1,000. You take $3,000 in cash out of your bag. You walk to the Western Union branch and you wire it to Ukraine. Is that okay? Of course. I just did a trip to the bank and I make $1,000. Yeah, you know, we need that type of work. You have become a money mule. So now, through Western Union, the money goes to Ukraine irreversibly. I just made $3,000. Eventually, the police find out about this, come to you and say, we would like the $4,000 back, thank you. And you're $3,000 short, which you have to put out of your pocket, or go to jail, or other things. So all these scams about working at home, making a ton of money, they're close to pyramid scam, but they're money mule deals. Okay? And they always end up either in jail, if they can prove that you knew what you were doing, or with you losing a lot of money. So be aware of that. There is never easy money. Now I use money for free. But unfortunately, you know, this happens all the time. So financial malware accounts for a lot of that. There is this kind of stealing money from bank accounts that happens. Another thing that happens that is amazing is the amount of money people with fake antivirus. Who knows what a fake antivirus is? Oh, you got hit, huh? So my dad got compromised too. You go to a website, you get a pop-up, your machine is infected, you have so many viruses, absolutely you have to buy this software, otherwise you'll be absolutely screwed for the rest of your life. You're like, oh yeah, $29, of course, here's my credit card. So you voluntarily pay somebody in Russia $29 to get some more malware that you didn't have in the first place, okay? The problem is that it's a social engineering scam. It's like really convincing you that your reality is not what your reality is. And we actually seized one of the central hosts that these guys use for this type of attacks, and we looked into their credit card transaction. We even had the log of their support chats. You know, when people say, you bastard, this is not, my son told me this is an attack. It's not a real, and the guy's like, okay, you're your money back. So they kept a chargeback limit exactly 0.1% below the level of chargebacks that would cause the credit card processor to drop them as client. Okay? Because of course the problem here is that you have to process credit cards. So you have to have legitimate banks involved in the process. If I'm a credit card processor and I find out that 30% of your customers are screaming to me saying, I want my money back, revert the charge, these are criminal, I'm going to immediately drop you like you're hot. Okay? But if you keep 5% to 6% complaint level, it's high, but maybe your product is just shitty and people want their money back and you don't have really good support. And so they play this very, very, very subtle game. Where's the research in this, for you might wonder, apart from the fun of seeing something, from the inside? We build economical model of these things, of the underground economy, virtual goods, online identities, how much they value, how they transact. Can we build model of this? Can we identify in the chain that from designing a scam to collecting the money, what is the weak link, where we can hit them with one shot and damage them the most? Because if you take down one of their hosts on the internet that is distributing malware, like usually 15 to 20 minutes later a new one pops up. It's not, with cloud-based services these days, it's actually even less. So, but if you can make the credit card processor drop them, then you hurt them really, really bad. And you know what? That's what Microsoft did. Microsoft did on a rampage campaign against this fake AD because they were affecting their customers, and napalm them out of the credit card process industry. Nobody wanted to talk to this guy anymore. And because of that, because of the actions of Microsoft mostly, this scam has been reduced in quantity to a very, very small size. I'm assuming that I have around 50 minutes, right? It's not a half an hour.
As long as you like.
Well, then don't say that, because you're 4 hours after me. It's going to be mostly focused on this. So, I'm going to do it. The other part that's interesting to me, and for me this is the most interesting part research-wise, because we did a lot of research on the previous one. So just to give you an idea what type of research we did at UCSB, we seized control of one of these botnets. We took a botnet of a cyber criminal group in Russia and we owned it at UCSB. For 10 days we had 180,000 compromised computers talking to us, volunteering all their personal information, all their password, all their bank account, everything. Okay? And of course we did this, talking to the FBI. At a certain point we started seeing military accounts on it. We had to talk to the military intelligence agency. So in the banks, it really was interesting experiment, and I would not repeat because it has so many ethical and socio-economical implications that are very difficult to control. But very interesting because it gives you an idea, what are these guys getting out of this botnet? We were the first one that could say, this is what you get. And do that in a quantitative fashion. How many passwords? How weak are the passwords? How many bank accounts? What is their value in the underground market? And of course we publish a paper on it. You can find it easily on the internet. But this is a very interesting topic, but then we start looking at this kind of targeted attacks. And why do they do that? And so we found out actually that there are all sorts of targeted attacks. They're motivated mostly by two things. Sort of like political intelligence and intellectual property. So people do targeted attacks mostly to get to secret designs in high-tech industry, to get the Coca-Cola formula. I don't think that there's a target attack for that, but definitely there is an example. I think Lockheed Martin designed this fantastic plane, and then they got a targeted attack, and the Chinese stole their plans. Okay? $20 billion taken, open the trash can, throw the trash can, because you cannot implement a design that you know have been owned by one of your possible opponents. So they lost $20 billion like that, in 1 second. Other type of targeted attacks, RSA, but think about law firms. This is one problem that we haven't seen publicized a lot, probably because law firms are involved, but it's huge. Who has ever worked in a law firm? Okay? These are lawyers, so they're not going to go to the computer science meeting. They suck royally at anything that is computerized. They use Dropbox to exchange incredibly critical pieces of information. So if you ever interacted with a lawyer and you gave them any piece of really important information, trust me, it's not safe. Okay? So they have horrible infrastructure. They have one person on staff doing everything from connecting the Ethernet cable behind their laptop to designing their firewall, and they're supposed to do that for, $65,000 a year. So forget about saying, hey, you should have three people on staff, pay them $150K a year, and invest at least $200,000 in infrastructure and security. They're like, huh? That's a third of my bonus, which I don't want to give up. Okay, so these guys handle incredibly sensitive information with really poor security. So, job for you guys: become security expert. Go visit a security firm and say, you guys need security. Eventually, they will get it. They will hire you, and you can say, hey, you have to pay me a lot of money because there are not a lot of people that know security. My first education security message is, there is an immense need for security experts. We're nowhere close to satisfy the need for security. It's a fun field. It's always new. Your opponent usually is a smart bastard somewhere in the internet that makes it always very challenging. And it requires a lot of work to become an expert in security. But the starting points are the obvious one, the internet, and being able to code like nobody's business. Linux, Windows, Mac OS, C, C++, Java, and Python like the back of your hand. And that's a start. Then, read books, read blogs, and, read more and even more. Another type of attack that is interesting, but not really for me at least, are state-level attacks. This is something interesting because it's a new trend that once upon a time was very subtle, and now you have, our president go to the Chinese and say, dude, come on, stop hacking us. And then the NSA is sniffing the phone of Angela Merkel, and the Germans like, USA, stop sniffing us, And so now, for the first time, I would say, after Snowden, the whistleblower came out with all this stuff that is pretty disturbing about the NSA. It's the first time that we understand the implication of state-sponsored attack against other states. And the spying does not disturb me as much. We always spy on each other. Are you kidding me? I mean, all these people say, you're spying on us. It's like, yes, of course. That's the job of the NSA and the CIA. Spy on people. We gather intelligence. We've been doing that all the time. Did you see in the Cold War, somebody from Germany say, well, you're spying on me. Have you seen the spy movies? We have movies on that stuff. It's not a secret. We have, Tinker Toy, Soldier, Walder, whatever. I mean, that was the business. Everybody spies on each other at all times. That doesn't bother me at all. What bothers me, really, is when the NSA goes to a company in the US and say, hey, can you make your cryptography a little weaker than it should so that in case we have to get in, we can actually get in? That is not okay, in my opinion, because that means that the NSA is, in a way, forcing you to have a less than optimal product because they want to have some leverage in the future. Which means that also the very good Chinese crypto analysts have the same leverage. Okay, so it's a very delicate balance that you have to keep there, and people have all kind of ideas about the fact that Snowden is a traitor or a whistleblower. I must say that I'm, for most part, more into the whistleblowing perspective for this. I think there are certain things that I don't care about people spying, but we shouldn't hide it. So yeah, we're spying, and if you don't like it, fight against it. Cover your tracks if you want to cover your track. You store if you want to use Tor. Apparently NSA is targeting Tor users too. So Tor is an anonymization network that allows you to go to a website without being traceable, which is great for if you're a human human rights activist in China, it's not so great when you are a child pornographer and you use that not to get caught by the FBI. But you know, security is always a double-edged sword. You can use encryption to protect your financial information or to protect your crime. And in fact, you know, criminals have got it there very fast. So I want to give you just a, since this is supposed to be a computer science class, I want to give you sort of a better idea of what happens when you get hacked. So a good point to understand, you know, this whole thing about inside to outside. I want to tell you about a drive-by download attack. Who knows what a drive-by download attack is? Okay. 3 people that know what a drive-by is. So you have a perfectly fine website. You recognize this. It's written on. There, surf line. You know, that's where you go to check your wave status if you're a surfer, to make sure that you're not going to C Street and then there's nothing there. So perfectly benign site. But there is a bug in it, and there is a bad guy in Russia right there that finds the bug by scanning the internet, looking for, I'm using the Russians for the criminals and the Chinese for the state-sponsored attack. It is largely true, so get over it. But, you know, I love Russia, I love China. I'm just saying, this is the reality of things. There are also bad criminals in San Francisco. Did you guys see the Silk Road guy that they caught in San Francisco? You know, criminals are everywhere, but if you take statistics, Eastern Europe is pretty good in the scale. So this guy launches an attack. This is a classic SQL injection attack. I won't tell you the details, but pretty much what happens is that he's able to send some content, this iframe, so that it gets included in the website. And it gets included, you can see the height equals 0, width equals 0. So it's an iframe. An iframe is like a little website within the website. Okay? But they made it 0 size, so it's invisible. Usually you use iframe for ads, typically. Put an iframe there, you pop an ad in, and it's like a little website, web page within the web page. This is completely invisible and points to www.semilegit.com. So what happens to you when in your computer you go check the waves, say, okay, should I go to class at Santa Barbara City College or should I hit Rinka? The answer is always hit Rinka. Go to class at Santa Barbara City College. So you get automatically redirected to semilegit.com. So this is important. This is what the drive-by download. You go to this website and the browser said, oh, you have an iframe. Doesn't tell you, hey, you have an iframe. Do you want me to go to semilegit.com? Well, the browser automatically, like you would upload an ad, it goes and, so download an ad, it goes to semilegit.com and visits that website. Well, the website uses a number of tricks to redirect you to another one called greyhat.com, another called evilbastard.com. At this point, and all this happens behind the browser. You don't see, unless you sniff the network with TCP dump or Wireshark and you look at the traffic, you will never see this happen. At this point, this particular is an exploit site. It sends you a nice piece of JavaScript that will report back that you have an unupdated browser with a Flash player that has a bug. And it will get all the information about your configuration, say, awesome, I have an exploit for you. Here it is. Bang. And suddenly, you are compromised. This exploit will be loaded to your browser, and you don't see any of this. And suddenly, code gets executed. Code that this guy wrote. And guess what this code does? Any guesses?
What's your information?
No. More guesses.
Hijacks the computer?
To a certain degree, but what it specifically does?
Downloads?
Download more malware. Bing, 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 bing. Downloads a bot. This is the nasty bot that you get on your computer. It's a complete framework that gives him unfettered access to everything that is in your host. At this point, you're owned. Big time. There is, it's in your computer, probably very difficult to take away. Guess what? Next time you go to a bank, then all your personal information goes sent to them. This is a drive-by download. This is 95% of compromised hosts happen this way. The remaining one are targeted email attachments. Okay? So it's very important. So as you can see, if I go back in this This is the first important aspect. You go to a landing page that will eventually attack you. So the bad guy at this point, how do I get people to go there? Right? And this is where the creativity of the human mind as a plane, to run on. So for example, one thing that they do is search engine optimization. So they have very complex infrastructures that reverse engineer the algorithm that Google uses to put results on top. Then they monitor what happens in the news. They get Twitter trends, Facebook trends, and they say, oh, Lindsay Lohan just totaled her car completely drunk against the wall. In the next 10 minutes, we're going to have a lot of things on Lindsay Lohan. And they create an infrastructure of hosts, all that appear to have Lindsay Lohan related information. They all point at each other, so Google goes to visit them and says, oh, you all believe that he's very good. They're all pointing, oh, this must be a very important result. They will put very high in the search, the organic search return from Google. And they use very sophisticated algorithms so that when you look for popular terms, you get sent links that will point you to compromised site that will eventually hit you. Okay? So this is one thing that they do. So research-wise, awesome. Now we scout the internet, trying to identify these resources. We model them. We use machine learning algorithm to understand how these nodes of a graph, move through the cycles of being optimizers for different keywords, and we try to identify them and eventually take them down. Another interesting thing is watering holes. A watering hole attack is, hey, I cannot really break into the engineering network of Facebook. They're pretty well protected, they know what they're doing, so it's difficult. What if I can go to a forum where I know that they're going to check stuff, and I inject some JavaScript code there that will redirect them to the bad place? And that's how they broke into Facebook, Apple, Intel, mostly using this kind of watering hole attack. You go there, your infrastructure is safe, but the places where you go might not be. So if I can identify where you'd like to go, then I can actually attack you in a very effective way. I love this example. Oh, this is this is not the example actually. I had another example that I think I removed. A guy wanted to convince people of a certain group to go to their website for a watering hole attack. You know what he did? He went in the parking lot and put fake parking tickets. So you got a parking tickets. To contest this ticket, go to this website. And some guy said, what? Compromise. This is cool because if you put them in the parking lot of Santa Barbara City College, you will probably get a bunch of City College students. Suppose you want to attack a local company, say QAD company in town. I need to have access to QAD computer. You go to the QAD parking lot, you put a bunch of tickets, say, hey, you got a ticket, go to this website to see why, and you get access. In this case, it was a document-based attack. It was a real document. It was a diplomatic email to say we have to sell a car. People will click on it, open Word, and immediately get compromised. Very, very difficult to tell, is it good, is it bad? Because with scam, it's easy to say, I am the king of Laturnia, and I'm going to give you $56 billion, provided that you send me $2,000 in Nigeria for advance fee, right? That, nobody falls for that anymore, almost. But this kind of stuff is very difficult to stop. And in general, social engineering attacks are incredibly effective. Still, the weak link in all this stuff is the human being. We're becoming very good at blocking this stuff automatically. But, how do you guess malware on your Android phone is installed? Drive-by download? 0, or almost 0. Most of the malware is you download it, and the malware says, do you want to install me? Like, yeah. Are you really sure? Yeah. Are you giving me all these capabilities of sniffing your SMSs and making really expensive calls? Of course, of course. show me some kitties, you know. And if you show kitties to people, they eventually install your shit. There is no question about it. You see, the classic example of codecs, right? You go, beautiful kitties do, you know, somersault. I gotta see it. You have to install this very special codecoder that you don't have. Of course, install. Yes, sure. This is something that you just download from the internet and you put it in your kernel. No, of course I want it. I want it. Show me the kitty. This is incredibly effective. And actually, a huge field of research is like, how do we defend ourselves? How do we make those dangerous decisions understandable to the layperson? The person who's not in the computer science group and will laugh at the end of it. I'm going to install your codec. Okay, go, you know, fly a kite. I'm not going to do that. But, you know, if you like kitties, and usually it's not kitties, it's something else, you will install that codec. Okay? So you have, you know, this thing. This is, I think, yeah, this is probably fake antivirus, you know, codec. So I have. This is the brave new world we are in. Continuously under attack, moving from cyber vandalism to large-scale financial scams to very, very sophisticated targeted attack. We're nowhere close to have the tools to really counteract this. So that's why I'm here to tell you, study security. It's fun. There's a ton of money in it. You're going to be really well paid. But that will work only if you really have the passion for something like that. Because it's also a field full of frustration, full of setting up, you know, boundaries. They're going to be broken by these guys, and then you do more boundaries, they're breaking up again, and it's a game that will never end. They will never let it go. Because that's their job. So your job, the good thing is it will never be out of a job. It will be like, oh, I'm going to be, you know, I'm going to work in, you know, anti-crime. Well, perfect. You will never have a problem. There will always be criminals out there. What do we do at UCSB? In my lab in particular, these are the most recent stuff we work on. I told you about, you know, our cyber crime and the underground economy. We work on analyzing these environments, modelizing, quantifying, studying them, going on the internet, crawl to understand how, you know, pervasive they are. But we do other stuff. We do, for example, vulnerability analysis. We do a lot of, you know, how can we automate the process of breaking into stuff? So you put up a website. I want to be able to have the best possible environment where I press a button and then run all these different attacks automatically so that I know in advance if I have a problem with my website before the bad guys actually find out. So we do a lot of that work. And of course we look at malware. Malware is something that has been in our DNA for the past 10 years. So the problem with malware is that it's something that changes continuously, and you know, you guys do some program analysis. So program analysis is the idea that you take a program that somebody wrote and you extract automatically some interesting properties. For example, oh, look, if you give this input, it's going to crash. Program analysis. Oh, look, if you run it with this program analysis, is that usually assumes that the guy who wrote the software is actually trying to do his best or her best to develop an application. When you analyze malware, the guy is off to trick you into making it impossible for you to analyze. And it's going to do the weirdest stuff in order to prevent you to analyze. It will check, oh, am I being debugged? Okay, suicide. Oh, do you have a modified library that will track my execution? Oh, suicide. Oh, do you have, am I running in a virtual machine? Oh, red pill, suicide. And so you will never get to the point where the malware is actually doing stuff, and my wife just passed by, doing stuff that will actually expose the fact that this is a piece of malware, okay? So it's a very super interesting, super challenging, and trust me, if you become a malware analysis expert, people will be, you know, going after you like zombies in order to hire you. We have, you know, I also have a startup in town, it's called Last Line. We do malware analysis, and we're starved for people with the right set of skills. And so actually, I'm going to use this talk to just say one thing. If you have straight A's and you're a fantastic programmer and you know Linux inside out and you love to hack virtual machines and run crazy malware, come talk to me, send me an email. Maybe there is an internship this summer for you. Okay, this said, there's another thing that I want to finish with. Also at UCSB, we run a competition. It's called the ICTF. It's going to run December 6th this year, in a month or so. It's super fun. Basic idea, me and my students put together a virtualized server with a bunch of services that had some vulnerabilities. Okay? Could be web services, could be an FTP server, could be a telnet server, not really, but a modified secure shell server. And we give you these VM machines. You have to run it in a internal network with 100 other teams from tons of countries, and all these other teams will receive the same server. What you have to do is look at your virtualized image and say, okay, where are the vulnerabilities? Where are the vulnerabilities? You find the vulnerability, you have to develop an exploit, and using against every other team to break into your servers and steal some flag, which is a file with an MD5 inside. Okay? With a string of alphanumeric characters inside. If you do that, you make a lot of points, you win. Okay? Of course, you have to use the same knowledge that you know about the vulnerability to patch your own version of the service and to create defenses so you cannot be easily hacked. But of course, you cannot shut down because we check that. And if you shut down your service and you don't maintain them functional, we're going to penalize you. So you have to be up and running, possibly patched, for sure functional, and you have to break into everybody else. It's a super fun game. You know, the first time you play, it's a little bit, you know, when I play with my students with first-person shooters, you know, I usually appear and somebody has lasered me in the forehead, and my survival time is a microsecond, and then I reappear and I get shot again, and that lasts until I get tired and I walk away. But it's a learning experience, you know, you get to, the setup. Learning how to participate in these kind of things, you do it one time. If you have a group, we're now sending high school kids. I don't know if you read in the news hawk, there was this group from a high school here in Santa Barbara. They're going to Seesaw in New York. You know, they trained with us at UCSB. They decided to come to our hack meeting. We usually meet on Wednesday night. If you are interested in that, you are welcome to come. Okay? It's a bunch of grad students doing this, my grad students. So there is random, hey, we have a deadline, we're not going to do the meeting today. So you have to live with the pain of this, you know, transitory behavior. But otherwise, I think it's a very, very cool event. You can just show up, you don't have to do anything, bring your laptop. Sometimes you have a talk with somebody that explains you how to do rock-based shellcode. Sometimes they'll tell you security on the internet, what are the big deals. All sorts of things. So please, if you're interested in that, send me an email and I'll put you in contact with the right people. And with this, I mean, I had actually a slide animated that shows how the whole thing works, you know, how we set the flag and how you break into things, steal the flag, give it to us, we make point. But at this point, I will just take questions. Thank you very much. And whoever has to go, please go. Don't feel bad that you have to leave if you don't want to listen to the Q&A. Again, that's your lunch break. So. About what's in the news right now in terms of the healthcare security sites. Yeah, I sincerely don't know much about it. All the healthcare, I mean, I can see an enormous potential for scamming because there is such poor information about what the process is that it's very easy to trick people into doing something stupid. Especially, I think that the threat right now is mostly phishing attacks that will harvest personal information that can be sold on the internet. And I think there is a fundamental infrastructure problem that I think it's actually, I'm very supportive of the Obamacare initiative, but I think that whoever decided that IT infrastructure is a moron, because I cannot believe that they didn't do what they're doing now, that go to Google and Facebook and say, hey guys, for the sake of the country, can you help us do this? And get the right people to do the job. I can't believe that they died for 36 hours, while Amazon.com, if they're down for a minute, they would raise tickets up to the CEO level. Okay? So, are we putting less care in giving healthcare to our people that we put in making Amazon work? I think that's a problem. Okay? We have the resources, we have the money, give less money to Halliburton, give more money to the engineers of Amazon, Facebook, and Google to make healthcare work. I don't think it's a security problem. Right now, it's a scalability problem.
But you and your students can have to help.
I would say probably. It's not necessarily true. Maybe they focus a lot on security and less on scalability, and that's the issue, because they were scared about that. It's difficult to say. I have no visibility into how good their security is, so all that I say would be, who knows? It's a very sensitive system, and it's going to be used by a lot of people. So the fact that you think about scale makes me hope that they put all that energy into security and not into scalability. But if it's just poor development, we're in for some interesting follow-ups. Yes.
What web resources would you turn to for information about security threats?
Very good question. A bunch. Blogs from security companies are great. So blogs from Trend Micro, Symantec, McAfee, FireEye, they often have very good information about the current threats. WebSense, Bluecoat, these are all top companies in security that sort of use blogs as a way to show that they're actively in the thing. For example, my startup has very poor blogging capabilities because we're busy with other stuff. We're not big enough to have such a good presence. Other things in general are Krebs on security. Brian Krebs used to be a journalist at the Washington Post, and he runs the most interesting security blog that is geared towards the common layperson. Some of the stuff is a little technical, but the guy is awesome. The guy does really new stuff. He doesn't just rehash stuff around. He does his own research. So I strongly suggest that you read Krebs on security. That's my daily read. Yes.
What was the name?
Krebs, K-R-E-B-S, on security. You'll find Brian Krebs, ex-Washington Post, now full-time blogger. Yes.
What are some trends that you see in the future?
Good question. So I think that the trend that we will see more and more is better evasions. We will see, right now, malware tries to block analysis, but it's sort of like, okay, if you're really sophisticated or whatever, analyze me. They're not putting the effort that it could. I think the moment that analyzing this malware automatically in sandbox is going to become more ubiquitous, then people will say, oh God, we're getting hit here. We have to counteract. And the next wave will focus on stealthiness. Right now, I don't care that much, because unless they go in, even the targeted attacks, it's so late. I mean, the state level attacks have a ton of new stuff. Like Flame was incredible. Like 5 days, 5 attacks never seen before on the internet. Plus some really disturbing crypto that almost hint to a problem in major hash functions, which means they almost broke what we thought was unbreakable, but we don't really know about it. So state level stuff is scary. Cybercrime and APTs usually not. APTs, advanced persistent threats, will be the Chinese hacking into intellectual property. Not as scary, technically speaking, but we will see more and more. All right. Thank you, guys. Oh, wait.
So how do you think that it'll affect war going forward?
Who will be affected?
No, how do you think that it'll affect how wars work?
War, okay. That's an interesting question. I don't know. I think that I love the example of, Israel just bombed some plant in Syria, right? Like yesterday or something like that. They did the same thing a few years ago. And the cool thing is that a few years ago when the bombers came, the Syrian raiders went off. So plane arrives, Syrian radar capability disappears, they bomb, Syrian raiders reappear. So that's what I think is going to be cyber war. Cyber war is not going to be in blowing up things, but it's going to be in throwing your electronic eyes a lot of sand so that when I come and hammer you with the real stuff, which usually is C4 or derivatives, you can't see where it's coming from. Yes?
Best home security software?
I love this. Buy a Mac.
Buy a Mac.
That's a good start. The second thing, use Chrome. Don't use Internet Explorer. Are there any Internet Explorer user here? Stop doing that! Do not use Internet. I love Microsoft. Doing great work against computer crime. They're also the guys who brought to us Internet Explorer, which is responsible for pretty much every evil in the world. Please, Firefox and Chrome, Safari, I use Safari, it's also okay. Chrome is best, I would say. I use Safari because I'm old and lazy and I want everything to work seamlessly in Mac. Yes?
If someone's preparing a Linux system for everyday use, what sort of software should they load? Are antivirus programs useful for Linux environments?
So I would say if you have a Linux machine, you already, way ahead of the pack because there are pretty much no viruses for Linux. You don't need an antivirus. Antiviruses are largely useless, trust me. Have one, get Symantec, McAfee. I think the best right now is Kaspersky as an antivirus. That's my perception. I'm not saying it's a perfect system. It's like one other level. Kaspersky. I think, and I know that because you guys should know about VirusTotal. It's a very cool website. Google just bought them. It's a website where you submit a binary and they ran it against 47 commercial antivirus software. So it's very fun to see, oh, this piece of malware is detected by 0 out of 46. And you wait 2 days, 2 out of 46, and 4 days later, 46. Because there are few antivirus people that really find the new stuff, everybody else follows. Okay? So I would say Symantec and Kaspersky are probably the leader. I think Kaspersky is slightly down. Yes?
Have you worked with any of the military academies?
They participated in an early version of the ICTF, and I always say they're super welcome to participate in Capture the Flag. They haven't for a while. They have their own thing. Truly, I don't know why, because I used to know this guy Ragsdale that was from, I think, West Point. And he started organizing his own thing, and we cannot participate in their exercises. But we would love them to join us. I mean, we have no problem. But for some reason, that didn't happen. We're open. Our CTF is the only one that is restricted to educational universities. You cannot, as a company, every other Capture the Flag, DEF CON, we go to DEF CON pretty much every year, is open to everybody. Companies, single people, universities. Ours is very education centered, so it's open on the university. So I don't know. If they come, great. We're not saying no to them for sure. Other questions?
What are some study habits or tips that your more successful students use, or something you wish you saw your students do that they possibly don't do?
Ooh, that's a good question. You talking about my undergrads, my RAs, all of the above?
All of the above.
You need to be successful in their career or to be protected from this type of stuff?
To be successful in their career, what's most effective?
To be successful in your career, do internships. Try to go into company, it doesn't matter how big or small. There are a ton here in Santa Barbara, Procore, join every entrepreneurial program here that would force you to make a team, work with a company, and develop some kind of solution, a little Android application, a little website, something, and you will learn a ton because you will have a project as a beginning, as an end. The second tip that I give you, be a finisher. There are a lot of people that start stuff. Oh, I'm going to do a website that puts together all the pictures that I have and all of my friends, and then we do this, it's all going to be awesome. And then you start, you write, 1,000 lines of PHP, and then you say, woo, right, squirrel, oh, I want to do these wonderful sites. And that is bad. Be a finisher. I rank my array students, so the PhD student that work with me, they're in my lab doing. When I work with my colleagues, I say, is he a finisher? No, he's a starter. Being a starter, it's very easy. Being a finisher is what makes you a cool dude. We have people, we call them the contract killers in our lab, and when a project is failing, say, okay, let's put Adam on the project. And suddenly the project ends, and has results, and a paper, and things are done and finished. You want to be that person. That person is going to be recognized at Google, at Yahoo, at Facebook, everywhere you go. You are the finisher. Ability to execute. And how do you teach this? It's discipline. It's set goals that are reasonable. Learn by experience what is reasonable in what amount of time. Stick to it and work your ass off until you get to that. And don't get distracted. There's so much cool stuff out there. It's obviously, I get distracted all the time. It's like, it would be awesome if, and you start going down that path, and suddenly you haven't finished something else. Be a finisher. That would be the most important thing to be successful in, at this type of thing.
For your startup company, how did you realize it was a good idea to create that company, and what kind of suggestions would you give for those who are,
You're entering a minefield here. I think my wife is not around anymore because yeah, why? So this is a spin-off of UCSB. So pretty much we developed as part of our malware analysis tools, two tools I haven't talked about that, so Anubis and WebOS. These are, if you go to Anubis, like the god Anubis, and the god WebOS, less known, but they look the same. One is white, one is black. The Egyptian god, if you go to anubis.cs.ucsb.edu or webawet.cs.ucsb.edu, Anubis, you can submit a binary, we will execute it for you, and we'll tell you what it does. WebAwet, we send to us a URL, a website, or a PDF. We will go there on your behalf, and we will tell you if we will be doing a drive-by download attack like that. People are using this tool every day, thousands of times. And we were like, oh, cool. We made research that people actually use. Awesome. And we got all these people say, oh, yeah, I just submitted 5,000 URL. I'm from Symantec. It's like, what? It's only for non-commercial use. Are you aware of that? It's like, oh, guys, can you make a commercial version of this so that actually we can actually use it? And it's like, no, we're too busy. Thank you. And this went on for several years until the requests were very, very insistent. We said, okay, so we worked with the university to create a spin-off. So, of course, the university owns part of Lastline. And Lastline is sort of the commercial-grade implementation of many of the things we have done for malware analysis in the past as research. And it's a great ride, because I'm a computer scientist, and all I want to do is science. But really what I want to do is new stuff, okay? I don't like to repeat the same thing. And Lastline was an incredible opportunity to see your stuff work on a large scale in the real world. And that was a challenge that for me was amazing. The financial, making the money part, you're recording this. I haven't said that, I don't care much about it. But the aspect of being able to field your stuff in the real world and see your stuff working with customer X, Y, and Z, that's super exciting. And that's a learning experience you get to that. Once you stop learning, then the startup is less interesting to me. Yes?
What is a limitation of technology like you wish didn't exist, or is most important that you wish didn't exist?
Awesome question. What are the limitations of technology that which didn't exist? I would say ability for us to keep up with traffic analysis. Right now, we have pipes that are becoming super fast. You know, we have 4G for, sorry, I'm moving a lot, and sorry, I walk. We have 4G that is very fast. We have 10 gig pipes that go to our labs. Residential lines are becoming more and more optic level bandwidth. The problem is our ability to analyze the traffic stuff. That means that we have no visibility into certain things. That would be the number one bottleneck that we have right now. Yes.
What do you think of Google Fiber?
Great.
Because there's like, well, there's just that, rumor going around that we don't need, that type of speed of internet, or.
You're talking about OpenFlow? I mean,
well, like I think they're doing it in Alabama right now or something, where they have Google, or Kansas. Sorry, yeah.
Okay. Maybe we're talking about two different things. What is that?
I think it's called Google Fiber, right? Yeah. Okay.
They're putting fiber to every house.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. So they did already that in Milan. That's my town. Fastweb came in and said, "Hey, I'm gonna fiber the hell out of the city. They're the number one customer of Cisco." And suddenly I come home, and in my cellar, where I used to hide and smoke cigarettes, in the cellar of my building, there is a Cisco router. I'm like, whoa! Of course I can plug in on the span port and see all the traffic of everybody because there is no security. But they brought the fiber to every single house. And so my dad and my brother can download a movie at 650 megabit per second.
Whoa.
It's ridiculous. It's like, okay, you want to watch this movie? Done. 1 gig. So it's awesome. And that's the future. No question. The problem is you have to break any streak because this stuff cannot be bent a lot because it's light, and light doesn't like fast turns. And there are all sorts of technical problems, but I think it's great. It's great. It will enable different services. Finally, we have, high definition video conferencing that is the size of a wall. That it's always, my idea for a startup has always been the door. I want to have a device that is exactly like a door, and it's pretty much Skype the size of a door. But I walk to it, and on the other side there is Italy. And I see my parents, hey, how are you doing? The video is perfect. When I move, the video moves, so it's a perfect rendition of a door. And this is my, one of the startup I want to do, a magic door. Making something that uses motion tracking and everything else to give you the best impression that you actually have a door to, another place on Earth. That type of technology will enable this. Once you have, multi-megabit constant traffic between two endpoints anywhere. Yes?
How do you suggest transferring money over the internet without running into a cybercrime?
Ooh, guys, you have great questions. PayPal is pretty good. I know the guys at PayPal, they're good. In general, you should know that if your bank account gets hacked, you get your money back. You're insured. As a personal person, you're insured. If you're a business, you are SOL. That's a problem. People don't know this. If they hack into your business account, then you lose the money. If you're a single individual, you don't. Yes?
What if you're a sole proprietorship? Stuff on your
You lost everything. Yeah. Be careful. Use two-factor authentication, always. If you're working with Wells Fargo, say, I want your RSA key. You know what that looks like, right? This is a little key. This. Where is it? I lost it. This is the key that's been breached by the targeted attack, by the way. This key, it is a number that changes every time. Whenever they want to transfer your money somewhere else, they have to have the number that appears on this screen that changes all the time. So unless they steal my bag, don't, please. No point. Unless they steal my bag, they're not able to use my company financial network. So, I put this on tape, huh? Not a good idea. I'm sure I'll hear something about it. I don't use this for my company, obviously.
Yes. Should we be using password managers?
Yes, please do. I use LastPass. I love it. It's, you know, I used to use my own, I coded my own password manager, and then I was like, yeah, because it was manual, it was a bunch of Python script with GNU-PG and stuff like that, super cool, always encrypted, nothing in memory, secure memory delete, LastPass. Yes. Easier, almost, you know, it's worth it. Yes.
You mentioned cloud storage.
Yes.
What do you think of the future as that? Because especially with security issues and everything.
So, if you can store encrypted, great. Most cloud storage will not allow that because, of course, it prevents some optimization. Because if we store encrypted, if we all store the same, you know, JPEG of a cat, they optimize on that. If you start encrypting, there are 3 different JPEGs, so they don't like that. I believe in cloud-based storage. All our infrastructure for my startup and my lab is pretty much cloud-based. I think that it's a waste of time for a department to run their own mail by Gmail. They have the best engineers in the world running a very reliable service. Yes, you have to give them all your text and they will run query on it. It's a trade-off. You can choose convenience for disclosure. And you have to trust that somebody that has do no evil at their mantra will eventually not do evil, you know? But I strongly believe in that. I think the future is that everything is going to be cloudified. There is no question about it. The few people that are resistant this are losing business like it's 1999, so I don't think there is a question. There are questions about it. Yes?
Why did you tell me to switch from Internet Explorer?
Internet Explorer has a
Oh, no.
seriously, Internet Explorer has a history of vulnerability that is just insane. And also, being the most used browser is the first browser they target. They're exploit for Firefox as well. But first of all, Chrome has automatic updates and it doesn't tell you. That's what I love of Chrome. I suggest that you look at a paper that we did. We seized one of the servers that will send the attacks. So we did a study on the population that will get to us to get attacked. So they will be redirected, but at the end, instead of it being evilbastard.com, was ucsb.edu. So they will come to us and say, please attack me. And instead, of course, of attacking them, which we have put in jail, it's like, please tell me what OS and browser version you have so that I can write a paper about the victim population of these botnets. Okay? And that's how you do science. So it's like standing in front of a crack house and saying, okay, age, sex, yeah? Are you married? What's your education level? You know, and then you do a statistic. We did exactly the same. I mean, of course, it wasn't a crack house. It was a lot more people. But that's the basic idea. And what we saw is that most of the people that were vulnerable had unupdated Internet Explorer. Chrome, almost nobody that hit us was unupdated. Because Chrome say, oh, I'm not going to ask you. I'm just going to update. So that's what I love of Chrome. Yes?
Are there any really tough technical positions you can put in by your work?
All the time. I'll tell you one. Now we have to ask for IRB approval, so it's called Institutional Review Board. Usually it's only when you do experiment on people and you poke them with needles and then you burn their hair and you have to say, hey, is everything okay? But nowadays, all these experiments with social networks involve a lot of personal information. We have this fantastic project, say, one of the things that it's not really here is called Creepy. So it's a Russian student say, hey, what if I take a ton of pictures from Facebook and all my friends, and I use a machine learning algorithm to understand who's dating whom? With no text, no information, just the picture. So then it becomes face recognition, positioning, where are these faces with respect to this? Is big or small? Is it a selfie? Who are the other people? What the time? And you put all this information together, and you have some ground truth about who's dating, and then you find similar pattern. So you find, oh, people that date have more picture by just the two of them very close to each other with nobody in the picture. And when there are other people in the picture, they're very close to each other anyway. And, use this. And we say, awesome. We submitted the paper for publication, and the answer was like, dude, where is the discussion of the ethical aspect of this? I'm like, we're just identifying who's dating. I mean, we're not putting people, but they say, no, there's huge implication, because what if it comes out that two men are dating, or two women, and you want to express that, right? That becomes a huge implication of your personal privacy, and so we say, oh yeah, that's a good point. So let's find an ethical discussion of this, and we did it. It's preserving the privacy. We never disclose information. We never did this, did that. We asked for permission, etc., which we already did, but we didn't discuss it because we didn't immediately saw the problem. Similar when we obtained 180,000 people personal data, huge problems from the ethical point of view. We were seeing people, doing all sorts of things. I mean, the query to every single porn site you can imagine were logged. And we were like, we know that this person who just went to monster.com and submitted name, age, social security number, whatever, a second later went to X-Hamster and just asked for, some type of porn. Now I know that this person, name, first, last, address, zip code, goes to see this porn. I mean, it's huge. So you have to be, this stuff is toxic at so many levels. We were using Pastebin. You know what Pastebin is? Mm-hmm. Pastebin is a website where people can put all sorts of stuff. We did a study using machine learning and cluster and say, what sort of stuff put, things on Pastebin? Well, we find that child pornographers are very, very, very happy to use Pastebin. They exchange URL with terrible content all the time. Pick up the phone, call the FBI in Ventura, which happens to be the section that works on child pornographers, and we're working with them to expose this people. But, for example, one ethical decision, I'm not going to ever have my kids look at any of that. They can work on the data on an absolute level, but there is no way that I want my kids to ever touch the topic. That's too tough. Ethical decision. Yes?
What sort of programming libraries would be useful for the students to learn? For like C++, image analysis, OpenCV?
Yeah, you named it, but I would say depends. I mean, there's so many great frameworks out there. I mean, Boost, for the libraries. And Python per se is, a framework for which there is anything. You need, something to do fast network, analysis. SCAPI. I love SCAPI. It's a great. pexpect. I love pexpect because it allows you to interact with services like crazy. You want to learn something incredibly cool? Selenium. Selenium is the bomb. It's something that you put in a browser and then you go to your favorite website and you use it, and it will come out with a Python script that will drive your browser to redo the same thing. You customize your Python script a little bit, and suddenly you have something that will open up your Chrome, and you see, going to a website, filling in the stuff, clicking, and if you want to win contest and submit, 1,000,000 times a form in the most natural looking way, Selenium. The bad guys use it, the good guys use it. Good stuff. Yes?
In that type of business, with working with security, do you ever get personally attacked? Do people ever get in your cell phone, your home computer, that type of thing?
But Brian Krebs did. Remember Brian Krebs?
Yeah.
They called the SWAT team on him. Pretty much they told the SWAT team that there was an armed and dangerous man. Put your hands down. Somebody gets a little nervous, he got a bullet. And they did it to him. He has a whole expose on his website. Somebody pissed at him for his reporting, did it to him. It's called swatting somebody. There's even a term for it.
Wow.
Other things, break into the DMV and put on somebody's record that he's armed and dangerous. Next time you get stopped, you got a bullet, probably. It's very dangerous. Dangerous stuff. I never got touched by any of that because I don't deal with that. I just do program analysis. All right.
What do you think of putting medical data on your medical records on the internet, or access for other doctors and everything?
What do I think? I do it. Can it be broken? Yeah. Can it be broken? Yes. Is it convenient or not? Do I have any condition that I want to hide from the thing? No. But if I had, probably I wouldn't be here. To me, I mean, I'm a moderately healthy person. I don't care. I just be, nobody's going to deny me health care because, you know, I have, I don't know, a need that hurts a little bit. The ones I